thrilled that we were now about to break trail for the foreseeable future. So, here we go. Breaking trail through probably 10 to 12 inches of snow, so not too bad, but also not nothing as well. And as we started making our way along the Lake Arnold Trail, I knew what was coming. And then after about 5 minutes, we were there. We were at the floating logs. Once my mortal enemy, my arch nemesis, a place I swore I'd never return. But here I am. Thankfully, this entire area was frozen and covered in snow. So for the most part, if I wouldn't have known better, I'd have thought it was just a big open field. So fortunately, crossing this stretch of trail today was easy peasy. All right, here we go. Walking over the floating logs, which are completely covered in snow. And so far, it just seems like a giant snowy trail covered in fluffy powder. As Jonathan leads, I'm in the middle, and Kira is directly behind me. None of us are wet so far, so that's a plus. Yeah, we're almost to the end, though. A lot easier during the middle of winter than it is after a nice rainy week in the middle of the summer. Especially when the logs are literally floating and not attached to anything, like the first time I came down here. And we're over. A successful outing over the floating logs, people. I get a lot of messages from people asking about the floating logs due to my distaste for it, as mentioned in the first Marcy Skylight Gray episode. We continued walking along the trail adjacent to the frozen stream on our left, taking turns and leading and switching it up throughout the hike. This is actually a trail that I really enjoy scenery-wise. Great views of Redfield above on the left, so that always makes it a little bit easier when you're out here all the way back from the lodge. As we continued walking, we came to the base of Mount Colden on our left and we checked out the southeast slide, which is one of the 7 different ways up Mount Colden. And not all are actual trails, mind you, just, semi-popular ways. Some people have tackled that mountain in the past. I wouldn't even call them popular, just ways people have gone up them. Shortly after this, we started the almost 400 feet of elevation gain, which takes about a mile or so as we make our way up to Lake Arnold and the Colden Trail split. At this point in the day, I was definitely ready to be back in my car. But the only way there is one foot in front of the other, so we had to keep walking. I couldn't just stop and decide to live here on the Lake Arnold Trail. People wouldn't like that. They wouldn't like me becoming the hermit of Lake Arnold. Throughout this whole mile, the trail, which we were breaking still, had all these tracks in them that looked like small child's feet. But they were directly in a straight line as opposed to side by side, like a human walks. In fact, the tracks were in a pinpoint straight line. And since they were like a baby's feet, I kept letting John and Kira know, the baby tracks are back! Where are they coming from? They were quite unique. And they kept coming on the trail for a while, and then they'd break off back into the woods. Then they'd show up again for another 100 yards or so, and then break off again. Very strange. Who knows? We finally made it to the Colden Trail split at Lake Arnold, where we walked over to Lake Arnold to enjoy the scenery for a few minutes. It is just after 2:20. We made it to the Colden Trail split. So we are cruising along here back towards Marcy Dam. And we have been breaking trail ever since we got on this trail, once we got off of the Marcy Trail. So it's been quite exhausting, but the trail's broken out now. However, there are seemingly fresh tracks here from this point on, so that's good. So hopefully we'll make some better time moving forward. Thankfully at this point, having known from the sign and register, a number of people hiked Colden yesterday via this trail, so we no longer had to break trail. So onward and downward we went, dropping 1,000 feet of elevation throughout this 1.5 miles until we meet up with the Avalanche Pass Trail, down a very straight and consistent grade trail. This was smooth and fast as well because of the snow, thankfully, whereas in the summer you're just hopping from boulder to boulder for the 1.5 miles. This was much faster and smoother in my opinion. And it was during this stretch where we all had the realization that we had seen exactly 0 other hikers today. 0. Anywhere. And I've never done a high peak and not run into a single other person on the day. So could today be the day? Could I have a perfect 0 today? A perfect hike? I hope so. Soon we came out to the Avalanche Pass Junction, putting us 1 mile from Marcy Dam as we walked over the wooden bridge that I remember fondly from past hikes on this trail, including my very first time hiking Marcy Skylight Gray and Cliff and Redfield. And after being solo for almost 17 hours at that point and running into a camper staying at the lean-to, hanging out on the bridge, I was so excited to talk to him. And he was so kind to indulge me in conversation. Because, man, that was a long day alone in my thoughts with no one to talk to. But we kept crunching our way down the very hard-packed trail. No need for snowshoes at this point anymore. But, no strength to stop and take them off. And then put them in your pack. It's too much work. Too much work. So we just kept walking, completing the mile to Marcy Dam, putting us now a mere 2.3 miles from the car. So here we are back on the Van Hovenberg Trail where we started the day, walking a wee bit slower than we were this morning at 2:45 a.m. A little less energy than we had at that point, that's for sure. At least I was anyways. At the end of the day, the Marcy Dam checkpoint in my head has 3 sections. The dam, the Algonquin Trail split marking 1 mile back to the lodge, and then the big wooden bridge about maybe 0.1 miles from the lodge. Those are the 3 checkpoints in my head. And we had still not seen another hiker yet. We were gonna do it! A perfect hike! We were going to make it out seeing 0 hikers on this massive day here in the backcountry. I know it. I can feel it. And then we approached and made it to the Algonquin Trail split. Checkpoint number 2. 1 more checkpoint to go. So Jonathan and I stopped and waited for maybe 30 seconds for Kira to catch up. And then, down the Algonquin Trail came a French-Canadian couple hiking out for the day. You have got to be kidding me. So there we were, standing at the Algonquin Trail split, 1 mile away from being back at the car. And then out of the Algonquin Trail comes 2 hikers, ruining my chances for a perfect hike today. Not that I don't like seeing other hikers on the trail. I just thought it'd be fun to have a day where we saw 0 people, especially up on Marcy. But we didn't get that perfect 0 today. I had to fight them, unfortunately, due to their transgressions, but they'll get over it. And I'll get over it. Probably, maybe. But we're almost back at the car. Coming up on hour 14. Been a long day. This nice French-Canadian couple were smiling, and they were super nice. And they had a nice day on the trail, and they said hello. But man, all I could think in my head was that they are my enemy right now. And I have no choice but to fight them. I have to fight you right now. Because here we are on our final mile of the day. 0 hikers seen, and they ruined it for me. They didn't do anything wrong, but I don't care. They ruined it. So I am going to fight them. So I fought them. No, I didn't. I said hello. Have a nice night. I don't really hate them as people. I just hate the idea of them right now. And I hate their life choices that they made today. Those are the things that I hate. And what they took away from me. But no, I don't blame them. I blame Jonathan for being 5 minutes late this morning. Because if we had that 5 minutes back, we wouldn't have met them at the Algonquin Trail split at the exact same time. Oh well. What could have been. I guess I'll have to keep hiking. Keep seeking out that 0 hiker high peaks day for a perfect hike. So we finished out the 1 mile to the lodge, hitting the final checkpoint as we crossed over the wooden bridge and soon came out to our car. We made it back, exactly 14 hours after we started. The sunrise on Marcy at this point felt like it was days ago, and starting to hike at 2:45 a.m. felt like it was weeks ago. But our 19-mile, 5,000 feet of gain, 14-hour day couldn't have gone any better. Well, not seeing those 2 hikers on the final mile would have made it perfect, but regardless, it was a pretty good day in the mountains. Well, another successful day on the trail, sunrising Mount Marcy, in the winter no less. A bucket list item that should be on every Adirondack hiker's to-do list sometime in their life. You won't regret it. Along with a very nice windy morning on Skylight, walking on Lake Tier of the Clouds, summiting Gray and butt sliding halfway down, and even a trip through the frozen floating logs, my arch nemesis. An awesome and long day on the trail with good people. Thanks to Jonathan and Kira for hiking with me. No thanks to the nice Canadian couple who ruined my perfect 0 at the Algonquin split. Just kidding. Kind of. And thanks to all of you for listening. If you have a second, give me a follow on social media at 46 of 46 Podcast. Leave a review and rating wherever you listen. New mountains, new stories, and new episodes coming soon. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock walk, and if you carry it in, carry it out. Everything, every time, banana peels and all. See you on the trails.